Good morning, New Vintage. Would you stand with us? Come on, let's sing this out.
Natalie Goodrich. I am our student pastor here at New Vintage, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. If it is your first time here, we have a gift for you. So before you leave, I would love to meet you back at the You Matter sign and give you that gift and quickly meet you. If you are here for the first time today, there's a few things that we would like you to know about. One being our kids ministry environment, which is amazing. Well, that's right. Give it up for kids ministry. We have so many incredible volunteers that volunteer every single week to hold church for infants through fifth graders. And that takes place in our kids building, right at the start of the parking lot. It's not babysitting, guys, believe it or not. It's actually a place where kids get to learn how to create a faith of their own and actually learn how to walk it out. It's the coolest thing. They have their own worship, games, Bible story, their own sermon, and then small groups where they get to talk about that. So it's an incredible environment, even for little toddlers. So if you have an infant through a fifth grader, we really encourage you to take your kids over to that building and check them in. Speaking of kids, we have a huge, mega awesome costume party next Sunday here, 8:30, 10, and 11:30 services. It's a massive, massive Halloween party, and make sure your kids are dressed up, honestly, because every kid is dressed up and leader at that party. Now, if you have a teenager, don't worry, we have an environment for them as well. 6th through 12th graders meet here every Sunday evening at 5 o'clock to 6:45 at what we call the Mix. And the Mix is named that because we want every type of student from every school, from every background, with every story to be here. We want Sunday nights to look just like Sunday mornings, where every student in Sonoma County knows they have a place to come, be fed, have fun, and hear something helpful that they can apply to their lives. Next Sunday on the 26th, we have what we call Spookiest Night, which is our Halloween party and costume contest for all of our teenagers. So make sure that you are here and you are dressed up. Believe me, everybody dresses up for that. Now, if you're a young adult and you're thinking, well, what about me? Don't worry, we got something for you too. In your 20s and 30s, we have a drive-in movie for you next Saturday evening on the 25th. Details behind me, you can use this QR code right here to get even more details. You can follow Vintage Nights, that's what this environment is called, on Instagram to get even more details. It's an amazing environment with incredible people, so you don't want to miss that. Now, one of my favorite things here at this church is that we start every Sunday by letting you know how loved you are. Now, for some of you, that's just a really sweet reminder. I just love that for you. For others, maybe that's the only time you hear it this week. Or maybe it's the only time you've heard it in a very, very, very long time. You see, at this church, we want people to know that this is a safe place where you can come and you can learn that you are loved. Nothing needed to change in this moment at all. You don't need to change anything about you to know that you are loved. And we believe that you are loved recklessly, unconditionally from our Heavenly Father. And we not only want you to know that, but we want our entire city and county to know that. So we have started a new series called 4. And last week, Darren kicked this series off for us. He gave us some pamphlets, if you were here. He also directed us to a brand new website, and I'm going to ask you to take out your phones right now. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're going to interact together. Go ahead, get your phones out. Go ahead, do it. Please. Good. I see. Okay, good. That's all right. 50% participation, that's fine. You're going to take your phone and you're going to tap it to the sticker on the back of the chair in front of you. It says tap to connect. If you're in the front row, you're going to turn behind you and you can use the sticker on the chair that you're sitting on, the back of that chair. You can also go to newvintage.org/4 or newvintage.org and click the 4 button. This website is something, guys, that we are using the remainder of this year and all next year in 2026. We are pledging, we are determined for everyone in our city to know that not only here at New Vintage are we for them, but they are loved so very much that we would spend the next year, little over a year, doing everything we can to let them know. We, at this website, can we go to the website really quick? Wonderful, so good. You're going to see service opportunities, 2 in particular that Darren's going to talk about today that we would really love for everyone to sign up for. You're going to see the way to get it involved in groups. You're going to see that you can leave a space or leave comments if you'd like to be a group leader. You can follow a daily devotional on this website. So much information on this website. And speaking of groups, we have something called Starting Point, starting in 2 weeks on November 2nd. During this service on this campus at 10 a.m. It meets for 8 weeks with some incredible leaders, and it is a starting point, a place where you can come with all your doubts, all your questions, all your hesitations. You can ask anything you want, anything at all. It's a place where you can learn who Jesus is. You can be in community with people, and it is an incredible place to just figure it out, to be in the process. So you can go to this website and you can sign up for that if you would like. Sound good? Amazing. Check out that website before you leave today. Listen, we got a few more songs with this amazing band behind me. So I'm going to ask you to stand on your feet. I'm going to ask you to high five the person next to you and tell them what you're dressing up as for Halloween.
I'm gonna be a friendly ghost.
I know who I am.
lift him up this morning. God bless y'all. You sound beautiful. You may have a seat. Check out this video.
Well, good morning and welcome to church. And I know, I'm on a screen. And if this is your first time joining us, this is not normal. My name is Darren. I'm the pastor. And normally I'm live and in person. So this is just a one-off. Don't be alarmed. It all makes sense. And you picked a great week to be here. I'm excited about what you are watching. Last week, we started a brand new series called 4. And the whole idea is that we're going to organize and position ourselves to be actively serving, loving, and giving in our community in order to help people recognize that God and the people of God are for them and not against them. Too often the reputation of the church is that we're against all the things, right? But we don't want to be like that. We want to be more like the Good Samaritan, the one who saw a need and met a need. See, the Good Samaritan can serve as a warning to the church that if we won't help, like the priest and the Levite didn't help, if we won't help, God will find others who will. Let us not be among the religious people who see the need around us and do nothing to meet it. Of course, we can't meet every need, can't meet every single one, but we can set some goals to grow our influence year over year as we have more people and more talent and more resources. We don't want to just collect talent. We want to use our gifts and talents to impact the world around us. So I gave you a couple of brochures. One looks like this. And this morning, if you were in the beginning part of the service, Natalie pointed you to the website, newvintage.org/4. You need to get used to that website. I got to get used to that website. We will be pointing you there in the weeks, months, and years ahead to sign up for the opportunities to be for our community. And this coming Saturday, we're walking neighborhoods and making a list of people and homes who would like our help making their place look great. We'd love for many of you to sign up for that and be a part of it this coming Sunday, the 25th. See, some people with overgrown lawns, they just don't care. They're renting or whatever, but many overgrown lawns are actually an outward indication of a problem inside the home, a sickness, an injury, stress, depression, elderly people who just can't, make it happen anymore. And some of these people are lonely and likely feeling some kind of shame or rejection from, the people around them. So as we approach those homes, we want to approach them with love and with kindness and a joyful spirit to share with those that we come in contact with. We want to help them overcome whatever they're facing. And listen, y'all, nobody else is doing this. Do you know anybody who's going door to door saying, hey, I noticed that maybe you had some needs? See, if we can get this right, we can change people one kind act at a time. We can lead the way. So head over to the website and sign up to serve somewhere. We also need crews of people the next week, the 1st and the 8th of November, with lawnmowers and blowers and weed eaters and all those things to follow up and mow those lawns and make them beautiful. And so we're writing letters to vets. We're doing a food drive to help people who can't get out of their homes. They have an illness or some other reason. Food for Thought gives away 450 jars of peanut butter, 800 cans of tuna, and 400 jars of jelly or jam every single month. And we want to give them 3 months worth of those supplies. Listen, I want every grocery store employee in the area to be like, where did our peanut butter and jelly go? And why is tuna so hot right now, right? We want them to just be wondering what is going on so we can support these people in this capacity. We want to point our lives in the direction of serving and loving others so that we can let them know that we as a church are going to support them. And if you want this to be your church, if this is your church, we want you to know that we are going to point our attention, our affection, our love outward for the sake of others, for all kinds of people, for married people, for single people, for dating, hello, let's connect y'all, for the next generations, for kids, for homeless, for wealthy people, for poor people, for the lonely, for the business owner, for the retail worker, for the addict, for the one who knows who they are, for the one who doesn't quite know who they are, for the healthy, for the sick. We want to be for everyone. And one way we do that is to all collectively give generously. So I also gave you this commitment card right here. And I want you to be praying about this. I want you to look it over. I want you to check it out. You can look at the giving chart on the back and see where you might land. I want you to really be thinking about what is God calling you to in the life of our church when it comes to giving here to make this FOR initiative happen. So on November 9th, the last week of this series, we're going to have a commitment Sunday where we all decide this is what God has called me to. We'll talk more about that as we move forward. But giving together to do good in our city is a joy for all of us. So let's choose to ask God to show us what our part is when it comes to giving. So what about today? Why am I talking to you via video? Well, that's because today I'm not doing most of the talking. Today, you're going to hear from people who normally sit among you as they tell you about how they were pleasantly surprised to find out that the church was overwhelmingly for them. Isn't it true that if we're going to have a church that is for our whole community, that every single Sunday has to be a guaranteed good Sunday to invite a friend? Have you ever invited a friend to church and thought, oh my gosh, I sure hope it's going to be a good Sunday, and they're not talking about giving, or divorce or Leviticus or, something weird, right? I had a friend that came to church. Was like, I finally showed up. My friend finally showed up. My neighbor finally showed up. My parents finally showed up. Like, just I hope it's a good Sunday. Just don't say something weird, right? See, you want your friends and family members to want to come back. You want them to want more. And the reason why? Well, ultimately, it's because you believe. Many of you believe that Jesus is the answer to the longings in our hearts, that Jesus is the one who rescues us from our own brokenness. And you want your friends and family members to have a clear path to Jesus that's not riddled with weird, religious obstacles. And the early church leaders, Paul, Barnabas, and James, felt the same way, as we'll see in Acts chapter 15. See, in Acts chapter 15, the church is beginning, and it began with Jewish people who were turning to Jesus. And one of the early struggles they had was that they were mixing Jewish traditional law of Moses with the newfound faith in the grace and mercy given to them by Jesus. So in verse 1 of chapter 15, Luke, who's the author of Acts, is telling the story of some Gentile or non-Jewish people coming to faith in Jesus. But they collide with some Jewish teachers who were convinced that the Gentiles needed to be circumcised in order to be saved. It's in Acts chapter 15, verse 1 to 2. It says this: while Paul and Barnabas were at Antioch of Cyrus, they'd gone away, some men from Judea arrived where Paul had been and began to teach the believers. These are the Gentile people who are coming to Jesus. And they said this: unless you are circumcised as required by the law of Moses, you cannot be saved. You got to have surgery to be saved. This is salvation by surgery. And I would imagine the men were like, huh? Say what? Paul didn't mention any of that. Honey, I'm not sure about this new faith. Like, maybe we just keep up the pagan thing, Like, I'm not sure about this. Paul and Barnabas, it says, disagreed with the teachers who were teaching, and they argued vehemently. This is the very first church fight. Not the last, but the first. And it was over this idea that Jewish believers had a Jesus plus mentality. Yeah, you need Jesus, but you also need to follow these religious traditions that we have from Moses. And Paul and Barnabas go, no. Don't tie our Jewish religious rule book to this new way with Jesus. Don't complicate Jesus and make it difficult for people to get to Jesus. So there's this fight, and there's meetings and debate, and finally a guy named James, who is the brother of Jesus, stands up and concludes this in Acts 15, verse 19. He says, "And so my judgment is that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God." James is like, listen, people. People are coming to hear about Jesus, not about every traditional law of our Jewish religion. Gentiles don't need to become Jewish. They need Jesus. Jesus is the answer, not the law. People need to meet Jesus, not the rule book. And that's not to say that Jesus is a free-spirited hippie who just, no rules anymore. Do whatever you want. Of course, our behavior matters and how we treat people matters. But religious traditions are not what rescue people. Jesus, the person of Jesus, is what people need to find. So, here at New Vintage, we're not going to make it difficult for people to come to Jesus. People don't need to become church etiquette experts. They just need to experience the unconditional love of Jesus. People don't need to dress the part. They don't need to speak Christianese. They don't need to use the correct. They don't need us to correct every little misunderstanding about faith. They don't need me to tell them that trick-or-treating is from the devil, so get your sick self out of there. No, you just need to meet Jesus. And so we've done our best to make it easy for people to walk the road of looking for and finding Jesus. And over again, we have heard the stories of people who were disconnected from church, walking in these doors and finding Jesus. And we wanted all of you to hear some of those stories today. So check this out.
So my name's Adam Berkowitz.
Well, my name's Enid Pickett.
My name is Alethea Larson.
Mike Desmond is my name.
Serena DeBacca.
So my name is Paula.
Yeah, my name is Chelsea Carey.
I'm Dave Carpenter.
So tell us your background with church, good, bad, or ugly, faith, God, all of it. What's your story?
Baptized Catholic, raised Catholic.
I was raised Jewish. Both my parents are Jewish. I went to Sunday school since kindergarten.
My family was quite Catholic. We went to church maybe 4 times my entire life, so I don't think that was a focus point.
And we had to go to church every Sunday. And I was reflecting on that, thinking, I went, but I didn't take in anything. It was really just to go.
Well, I grew up in a very strong faith family, and that was connected to our church. So we went to church a lot.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in the church. It wasn't something that I thought much about. It wasn't something that my family talked much about.
Greek Orthodox. My dad was Italian. My mom is Greek. Challenging little mixture there.
My father introduced me to church since I was little. I was part of the Living Christmas Tree at Marin Covenant Church in, like I said, in Marin. And we went, quite often. It wasn't like it was every Sunday, but we went often.
So I was involved in all the youth ministry. I was involved in the Vacation Bible School. I sang in the choir.
I was one of those kids who was just constantly asking questions, poking.
I mean, I remember praying in kindergarten on my bed with my hand, the little.
I think just survival was a focus point, so church was not in the cards. And so I had no interest and no anything to do with religion or church or anything like that.
But I grew up in the Greek Orthodox Church, so it was not a lot of English. So I never really understood what was being said, but it was very traditional rules.
It was always there. My mother, no faith at all. She grew up in a very different lifestyle, so she did not want to talk about religion.
And we prayed before every meal, but we didn't discuss God or Jesus after church. As soon as it was over, as soon as the service was over, that was it for the week till we went to church next Sunday.
I remember seeing talking to a priest when I was like in 1st or 2nd grade. I remember he bent down, we were at St. Jude's in downtown Dallas, and he was like, God made you for a very special reason. You are supposed to be here. And it was so impactful because after that I felt a lot of pressure to find what that purpose was and to not fail God.
So what was it that kept you away from church for a while, or for maybe most of your life?
my life. It was my life. I was just more into, running around, and, I got married and had kids and just, was busy.
And I think I was just too busy with myself.
I started to move away from my religious background. It wasn't something that was a stronghold in my home. So it was probably easier to abandon that a little bit, more so, and just kind of follow with my friends and kind of what I wanted to do with my life.
And I came from a world that this faith wasn't a part of it. None of my friends had faith that I knew about. My family didn't. I'm a scientist by training, and for better or for worse, the world that I was in was really devoid of any talk. And it almost felt in ways antagonistic.
In my 20s, when I moved to Seattle, it was kind of godless, and experienced some very difficult times and just lost the connection I thought I had, I think. And I was also with friends who didn't practice any kind of faith or had left their faith.
I started just praying to God on my own, thinking that I could do things on my own, and I didn't need a church. A church was something that I could have in my past, but not in my future.
And definitely was not going to be going on a Sunday morning. That was my day of, I got to rest, I'm tired, or I got to go to a soccer game, or, maybe I'm just tired from the night before, or whatever. Just, it was not a priority.
I think it was stereotypes that I grew up with, that you guys were all crazy losers that just wanted money and but just had nothing to do with me. You guys were the crazy ones that believed in this fake dude that walked around with a beard and
I really lost mine, and I went on a trip basically to different churches or houses of worship to try and find that connection again, and I didn't. For me, though, it was like, I don't belong here. I don't understand what's being said. And this is what I was thinking back then, but now when I think about it, it was that I don't want to. I don't want to understand. I don't want to try. And it felt like I was lying being there.
So how did you get connected with New Vintage, and what hesitations did you have in the beginning? What was the vibe for you?
My daughter started going to church. A friend of hers went to church, and then she kept going every Sunday. Then my wife started going, and Sunday. So it was football day. So I'm like, you guys have a good time, but I've got some games to watch, And so they probably went 3 or 4 weeks with me just sitting on the couch, and I'd say, hey, say hi to God for me,
Okay, so I got invited by a friend of mine named Lisa. She wasn't coming here either, if I'm not mistaken. She just heard good stuff about it from her friends, and she kept trying to get me to go with her, and I'm like, dude, I'm not going to hang out with those weirdos, dude. Forget that. There's no chance.
And she says, you want to come to church with me Sunday? And then we go to brunch. So I was interested in the brunch after church. So I said, sure.
I play drums, and some folks that I play with were playing in the band. That's when Andy was running the church here.
And then when I moved here to Santa Rosa, it was my in-laws actually that brought us to New Vintage.
So when I was going through another breakup, I was like, oh, I got to find a church. I got to, meet some people. I got to get back into the church. And I moved in right down the street.
I was getting a little more guilty each Sunday, more and more guilty, thinking, Dave, come on, you're part of the family. You're the father of this family. You got to go check it out. So reluctantly, I went one Sunday.
And I had heard about New Vintage from a friend of a friend, and I had reason to start driving this way a little bit more. And I drove by a couple of times, and I thought to myself, I think I'm going to go there.
First, I didn't know what to wear. I mean, I was literally Googling, what do I wear to a non-Greek Orthodox church? In the parking lot, there was a lady wearing flip-flops and tie-dye leggings, and I was like, I'm good.
I think I might have been in some really struggling moments of my life where I was really struggling with maybe a little bit of depression and a lot of anxiety, and I needed an avenue. And so I think maybe God tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, just go check it out. So that could have been it. I don't know.
I didn't know anything about anything. I walk in and I say, what do I do? And
I'd never been to a church like New Vintage. And I knew as soon as I walked in, totally different. Come as you are. It's like, it's brilliant. It's why I'm here. Not why I came, but it's why I stayed.
So we came here, and I was blown away. I think I'm going to come back because this is something that I'm not sure what's going on here. And I was confused because you were entertaining, Darren. Listening to your word wasn't the same old fire and brimstone. You know, it wasn't the preachy kind of pastor and I said, this is so natural. Why is he talking this way? Because it's as if I'm talking to somebody in my house instead of going to church where it's very formal.
I stayed and I thought, this is a pretty cool spot. I kind of dug it. I dug the message, I dug the feeling of the people, and I came back and I said, hey, I found this church. You might want to check it out.
You know, first I'm looking around going, oh, these people raising their arms in the air, and I'm like, I don't know about this, you know. But next thing you know, I'm like, full on praising.
and then I got connected to have coffee with Laura. And Laura and I had coffee, and I got tapped into a discipleship right away. I was baptized 3 months later. I was just all in right away. I was like, this is what I was looking for.
Can you tell me about like the unexpected joy or blessing that you experienced when you began to make this a regular part of your life?
I mean, everything. I didn't have any expectation for what it was going to be like. And so everything from the community, I've never felt community like I felt in the church.
Yeah, I mean, it's my favorite day of the week. I know that sounds hokey from some of you non-believers, but I can't tell you how much I enjoy hanging out with the kids and the people and everybody. It's just, I look forward to Sundays.
It's brought so many blessings. Just knowing that I'm not alone by all means at all. You know, if it is just God, Jesus, but the whole church, everybody that I surround myself around, I feel so loved and cared for.
Seeing so many people that I know in the community that come here in different ways, and it makes it feel like more real or a reflection of our community because they're from different facets of the community. And I really find something authentic about that.
My stress is less. Things that used to stress me out about work or whatever it may be, I just have a more calming feeling.
I've changed a little. I've felt more relaxed and more comfortable and happier.
Once I became comfortable, which it took a little while, and then started doing the action, you know, reading the Bible, getting into groups, being with people in this community, and I dove deep into it. My childhood trauma, I felt like I had to fight for myself because I was it. Like nobody was going to do it for me. I'm alone in this story. And I didn't have to fight anymore, which is crazy. I was like, oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. But I felt like there was somebody who had my back, and I've never felt that in my life until I came here. And it was like, oh, like I don't have to seek out bad experience or trouble or the wrong people or the list goes on and on. I just was like, this is all that I need and I'll be okay.
Is sometimes you can feel so overwhelmed with emotion based on whatever's being said that you're almost able to just lay down your load and you feel this relief. And that has been very significant for me because I do not do that. I hold on to the load because I'm responsible for it, you know? And here it feels like there's space for you to do that.
This church has done, you get emotional even starting to talk about what this place has done. And it's like, I want that out so people can understand that.
Written more since I've been here. A lot of times, I would call it like church karaoke when we have the words on the screen, and which I love, but there's sometimes I see poems in the words on the screen, so it's inspired me to write more.
You know, I even came to church, 10 a.m. Raider game. I'm just like, see you later, Raiders. Got to go be with God for a while.
So what would you tell somebody else who maybe's out there who would say, I just don't think that the church is really for me? Like, what would you maybe tell your former self about your experience here?
I would say I get it. I totally get it. Like, that was me for 30 some years of my life.
I would say be open-minded. I mean, not everyone listens to that, but I would just say, try it. Like, what do you have to lose?
I would tell them, just come one time.
I tell them nothing's more important.
Yeah, I would say my biggest argument for being here to my friends who I've invited was that it didn't feel dogmatic. It felt open, inclusive, that I didn't feel like, well, are you a Christian?
Then it feels totally comfortable, and I don't feel pressure at all, and I don't feel like I have to hide it, which is, it's really helpful.
Only way to know it is to just check it out, just to walk in the door and see what happens.
What you thought was important in your life, money, material stuff like that, this is the real stuff. Coming to church, giving your life to Jesus, and making the connections I have made here. It's like winning the lottery. It really is. I love it. I really do.
It's just, I think so many people think their sins are too deep and too plentiful. Their past is too muddied to be accepted in any group that praises God and prays and believes in God and Jesus. And I just think everybody needs a little Jesus in their life.
I think this place is a good, safe place to start to have those honest questions start to be answered, right? Without like, hey man, you don't get it yet?
I've been used to going to church for 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. This is an hour service, which is like, yes.
And I remember somebody asking me, you go to church every Sunday? And I'm like, yeah. Like, I could not go.
When it comes to following Jesus, which I advocate for all the time, that's where we're going. Where are you in that process or in that journey? Where are you at with that?
I'm not pushing it away anymore. I'm not like, no, not at all. Instead, I'm just trying to be present and open.
I don't want to say wrestling because I full-heartedly believe that it's right and this is the best way for me or my family to live. And it's challenging because life is challenging.
I'm all the way in, deep in. I mean, I got a cross, I've showed you before. Wear a cross, it kind of feels like my armor, like, yeah, this is who I represent, you know? So that's a big deal to me.
I haven't fully said, okay, I'm in. Yeah. Bring it on. I give up. I surrender. And I'm struggling. I think right now in that journey, I'm struggling with like, where do I lose myself and gain something greater? And the fear of that is probably something.
That's a great question. I want more. It's like, I know who he's there for me and he's my true one and only. I just can't get enough.
I wasn't even on it for many, many, many years and thought that it's okay to like be adjacent to it or just say the path is over there and I'm over here and Jesus is over there and I'm over here and not have that bridge. And so I'm building that bridge to get closer, to get to know Jesus more. And it's not only I know he knows me. Now I want to know him as well.
And it's really hard to stay on the straight and narrow. You know, I get angry, I get upset, sad, and don't always, my initial reaction isn't always to do the right thing or even think the right thing. A lot of it is still very mysterious to me, you know, and I'm an arguer. I can't not be. And so sometimes in my head, I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. That's just an interpretation. And then I'm like, you're not listening anymore. You're doing the pushing. And so that's where I really am at, is just not pushing and just being and being open.
I've never done this, and this is the honest truth, is I'm reading my Bible every morning, and I've never done that. And it's so beautiful because I leave it open on my dining room table. And so when I go to bed at night, I can see it's still there.
It's, I mean, Jesus is not just my Savior, He's my Lord, and I look to Him every day to try to follow His direction and lead me each and every day. I'm not perfect, but that's what I aim for.
I'm hanging. I'm trying. And you know me well enough to know that, like, it might take me a while, but I'll get where I need to get to.
Because the more I know, the more I can really commit to being a fully Christian woman. And so I'm on the path of still learning and knowing and becoming more involved here at New Vintage is helping me with that journey.
Isn't that so cool? Together, we've all been working hard to create a place where people can be in process, that people can be on a faith journey, and that often leads to a relationship with Jesus. And listen, we don't have to win every theological debate. We don't have to correct every bad habit. We don't have to point out flaws and create religious stumbling blocks. We just have to be for people, all the people, by creating a space where everybody is welcome to go on the journey without stumbling over religious rules and traditions that don't actually point to Jesus. What if we keep getting this right? Can you imagine how many more people in our community are hungry for what they just heard, hungry to find Jesus? Just like the people that you listen to, more are out there. Imagine the difference that we could make if we get this right. And my commitment to you is that every Sunday will be a good Sunday to bring a friend, if you want that friend to start the journey of looking for Jesus. And maybe you're in a place that you've been in process of finding Jesus. Aren't you so glad that you found a place that lets you be right where you are? And my hope for you is that we never get in the way of you finding Jesus. Natalie, go ahead and close it out for us, and I'll see all of you next week for part 3 of 4.
I love those stories. Real people who have walked in these doors that you entered through today and met Jesus. Some of which who are still in the process of figuring out what this looks like. Who is this guy named Jesus? How do I do life with him? And knowing that they have a place to ask all their questions, to come as they are, to get certain words bleeped out in front of an entire church congregation. Great. I love that. I love that because we are all real people, guys. And none of us have it figured out. Not one single one of us. Our lives are not perfect, and they will never look that way. Do we get cleaned up before we get in the shower? No, we get in the shower to clean ourselves off. We are all broken. We are all lost. But we all have a place to show up and to heal and to be found. And this is a safe place with safe people to do that. And I'm so grateful that this church is making a pledge that we will not only be for each other, but that we will be for this city, for this county, so that not only each and every one of us, but everyone we come in contact with can have a place to show up and just be in the process. So because of that, we are going to sing a song, one more song before we leave each other, called Hard Fought Hallelujah. I love this song because it's such a great reminder to me personally that I'm going to have struggle. Nothing is ever going to feel as easy as I want it to. I will always, always seek ease and comfort. But when I turn to Jesus, I can have all I need. I can have peace and comfort, and I just have to look to him. So go ahead and stand on your feet and get ready to sing this song.
Yeah, I don't always feel it. Yeah, but that's when I need it the most. So I'ma keep on singing till my soul catches up with my sin. There's times when my hands go up freely, times that it goes. Days when a praise comes out easy, days when it takes all the strength I've got. I'll bring my heartfelt in through hell, hallelujah. I'll bring my storm-tossed, torn story to tell, hallelujah. You've been gracious, faithful, whatever I'm feeling or facing. I'll bring my heartfelt in still, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'll wrestle with the dark, but I'm trying to reach for the light. Yeah, the struggle keeps me on, and it breaks down the walls of my pride. Faith is improving like gold till it's been through the fire. My head on hands feeling heavy, and that's when I lift them just a little higher. I'll bring my heartfelt been through hell, hallelujah.
Give him a hand. So good. Thank you. Thank you. Well, in light of the fact that today we've talked about being in the process and that that's not always easy, we are going to have a team of people right here on the steps in just a moment to pray with you, to talk to you, to process something that's difficult in your life right here, right now. Let it go. Leave it in this room. Allow God to take it from you so you can carry what he has for you, which is light and good. We love you. We are for you, and we can't wait to see you next week for part 3 of 4. Have a great week, guys.